toys, internet, video games, TV shows, and even religion. We hope it's not the first time you hear this, but it's clear every dark word up until now has always revolved around the form of escapism. And these words are so colorful, so lively and fun. Everything about them is way more energetic and inspiring than how things are in the light world. Even the menus are more elaborate. In comparison, the light world is just so flat and boring. People don't even have shading, and their portraits are plain black and white. Ernst himself said the dark worlds are not different worlds, but just an illusion. They feel real, they seem real, but they're just fantasy. We saw some confusion in the fandom, so we wanted to clarify. Obviously magic is involved, but Ralsei is pretty straightforward about this. And he never lies.
And the harder life gets, the easier it is to find ourselves wandering in these fantasies of ours. Fantasies that will end up being shaped after those same fears we so desperately want to avoid. Through Tena's character, we saw the need of a child to escape with a mind from a deeply compromised family. We saw the discarded dream of a lightener, most likely Metaton, that unlike in Undertale, still struggles with self-esteem and body dysmorphia. The dream of a body he can't have. Susie opens her dark world with a desperate need to see Gerson again. For once in her life, she finally had someone to rely on, someone who, instead of making her feel wrong and a beast undeserving of love, treats her with respect, makes her feel safe, at ease, and guides her. And right after finding him, she instantly had to lose him. The path before her suddenly feels so scary, and the world she had in her mind seemed so much safer. The choice seemed so natural, and so she falls back into the realm of her mind, back into her fantasy, where she can forget what real life looks like, where she could forget real life exists, and convince herself that what she's living is reality.
Sometimes we just want to relax, don't we? Because life can be so exhausting, so scary, that we just want to hide. Hide in our friends, in our homes. Maybe that day it rained, and we don't know why we remembered it. Maybe it's because we felt safe, surrounded by the warmth of our loved ones. Or maybe we found it sound so comforting, we really don't know. But right there, we were happy. We couldn't know what awaited us the next day. The day everything went dark. There's a little detail at the end of chapter 4, which seems extremely crucial to us. Right after we leave the church, we get to walk around hometown at nighttime. Everything at first looks normal, until you notice a few buildings' colors are picked up. Many remain the same, like the church, Sansi's house, and the hospital. But many others see their colors straight up inverted. The diner, from red, becomes its opposite, cyan. The apartment complex turns green. The grocery store turns aquamarine. And even the flower shop is completely twisted. Some could argue it's just an artistic choice. But even ignoring the fact that Toby never does this kind of thing without a specific reason, why just a few of them? And why turn these buildings into such brighter colors? These aren't your usual lightwork colors. They look more like the palette of a dark world.
Now, this alone would be too little, but what's the dominant theme in the trailer of chapter 5? Japan and flowers, right? And have you ever seen this image right here? This is the promotional art for chapter 5's release, made for the 40th anniversary of Famitsu, probably the most important gaming magazine in Japan, and it quite obviously shows hometown during a traditional Japanese festival. There's an Undertale one as well, together with this screenshot from Go Nintendo of the festival, but we believe it's extremely safe to assume this won't be what the whole festival will look like, not just cause it will be very disappointing to have one of the things we've been looking for since 2018 to be hometown, but festoons and some flowers! There are more flowers than normal, so when Ice Wolf told us the mayor had submitted a humongous order of flowers for the festival, he was indeed telling the truth. We also know there's gonna be a Ferris wheel, and the image from Famitsu is pretty congruent with a modern-style Asian festival, where all traditions fuse with contemporary technology and pop culture.
A festival where you can go around in a kimono, eating traditional food, but also playing with your friends at the stalls. Now, we know this is quite a delicate point. For this reason, we're trying to make it as thoughtful and comprehensive as possible. Many believe the festival will take place in the section that's beyond the barriers. This would mean the downtown is just a section or a sort of anthem to the actual festival, which makes more sense than a Ferris wheel spawning in the middle of town the night before the event. This type of festival is also usually handled by the whole community, and everyone will give their personal contribution, like the town hall being decorated as if it's Christmas, fitting carol being, Christmas final boss. In this way, an almost empty road section right in front of Sansi's house and shop would be more than understandable, even though this last piece is more of a reasoning than actual argument. In short, we believe that if the alternative is having a flower shop darkward that finds its justification in Asgore being a fan of anime, which by the way doesn't have much to do with the type of Japan shown in the trailer, more so cause all of the anime ever cited in Undertale have always been sci-fi and magical girls, showing a traditional Japanese-like festival to promote the chapter that will have a festival, with the trailer showing a dominance of traditional Japanese as a theme, is quite a peculiar choice, isn't it? The festival would also be the highest form of escapism that could be narrated at this point, since it's a form that involves the whole town. The flower shop and maybe a few other buildings could still have their own dark section. Who knows?
A dark world in hometown would be a pretty big deal, wouldn't it? And yet, it is exactly the direction everyone is taking, especially since determination was censored and disappeared from the game. Escapism is not inherently bad. It's a defense mechanism that we subconsciously use to avoid situations of excessive stress. It is essential in everyday life. Hiding for an hour in a book or in a film to restore us before going on with our day is a form of escapism, as long as we keep a balance. It helps us process and then deal with our problems. We know this is kind of hard to follow, so don't be afraid to take all the time you need to understand. Our headspace, after all, is the sum of all our dreams, which are not just our ambitions. Take a moment to think about anything you want, or even nothing in particular. See what you did there? Even if almost imperceptibly, and for a split second, you stopped processing what's around you, you fell back into your mind, and right there, you surrounded yourself with your thoughts. You basically had a micro-dream, in some way. According to this, ambitions would be just specific dreams we have, that we especially like, and want to bring into the real world.
But life has an important aspect that makes it different from the words in our head. We are not its masters. Many things can go in unpredicted ways, in unpleasant ways, and the worse it goes, the harder it is to stay strong. Chris had to go through the destruction of their family. Azrael is not there right now, and an unknown entity is taking control of them, overwriting their own free will, turning them into the slave of the very being they are caging. All of this not considering all the trauma they must have gotten from whatever happened to Des and whatever they are doing behind their back. Toriel is having a hard time going through with her life. Asgore lost everything. Noelle lost a sister. May lost her father, and she's not even allowed to cope, being forced by her mother to be as perfect as she can. While her self-esteem reaches rock bottom. Undyne disappeared, and Alphys is getting even more insecure. Berdly too obviously struggles with some kind of impossible standards that are being forced on him, making him read a proud facade while he's hating himself on the inside. Even the darkness reflects his state of mind. King holds a grudge for being abandoned. Queen has been overprotective of Noelle, noticing how much she's suffering. Tenna wants to hide from reality instead of trying to face it. Spamton and Javel completely lost their minds while looking for a freedom they can't have. And Ralsei, being somewhat omniscient, completely lost all hope.
Because that's what this is all about, isn't it? Hope, the power that shines within us, the light that shines from within us, and brightens our future. Hope is the trust we place in said future. It is how doable we perceive the realization of a dream of ours. It is the necessary condition to stay determined. Remember the way we talked about dreams a moment ago? We talked about the process of wanting to bring the ones we like the most into the real world. That process can only happen as long as we hope. And hope can only exist as long as we can find reasons to keep going. Reasons to believe we'll make it. But the more we progress, the more we see the suffering everyone is facing. In chapter 4, we also learned a lot more about the prophecy. We found out it has a terrible ending. How hard can it be to keep believing it will all be alright, when everything keeps telling you it won't? And no matter how much you try to change things, your choices just seems to not matter. When hope fails, that is when the process we've been talking about since the beginning happens. When life gets too overwhelming and all hope starts to fade away, staying behind within our dreams seems so easy, so comforting. Excuses to not live become easier and easier to find, because after all, who said all of this is fake? It feels pretty real to me. Why would I want to live?
This is what's making the perception of obeying new fountains less and less strong, and more reasonable. We said this already. Susie opens a fountain when she can't accept the reality the person is gone, and finds the possibility of visiting another dreamy world where she can be with him more appealing. And as the light of hope keeps shrinking, the sunset fills the field of trees around town with shades of pink and gold. A sun that shouldn't be in the simplicity darker like Clarcy, shouldn't it? One denies the other. But maybe the fountain will plunge everything into a form of twilight, with light and dark fighting for dominance. Susie wanted Clarcy to come to the festival after all, didn't she? But the sunset never lasts long. Sooner or later, be it in this new chapter or the next one, darkness will swallow everything. You should have home by then. You don't want to get caught when the sun goes down. Because when the light is subsumed by shadow, when the fountains fill the sky, all will fall into chaos. The titans will take form from the fountains and envelop the land in devastation. The surviving darkness, crushed by the darkness, will slowly, one by one, turn into statues, leaving the lighteners to fend for themselves, lost eternally in an endless night.
As if we're gonna let it happen. As if Susie would let it happen. Susie. Most people at this point realized she's straying from the role that was most likely meant for her by the prophecy itself, a villain role. She, who has been ostracized all her life, she who never had friends, who felt broken and unwanted, suddenly started to smile. And why did that happen? How can someone change so suddenly? The thing is, she didn't. What happened is that she, together with Chris and Ralsei, started to visit the Dark Worlds. And remember what we said? Escapism isn't inherently bad, as long as we keep a balance. Imagination, entertainment, art. All of these are a good way to cope with the overwhelming aspects of life. A good way to safely experiment. Because that is what it's all truly about. And this is what happened to Susie. Even though she's not the first character to refuse imposed tracks. There's someone else. Someone who possesses the only thing that can never be enslaved, innocence. And that someone is...
In a world made of people driven by prejudice, with Lancer, Susie was taken aback. She tried to be rude, because that's what people always expected of her, and that's what she internalized to be. But for some reason, this kid wasn't afraid of her. He was curious, clueless in front of her threats. He smiled at her, looked up to her, and respected her. Even when he tries to insult Ralsei, he just can't do it, because he doesn't know what malice even is. What is this feeling? For the first time in her life, Susie felt accepted and safe to do what she truly wanted to do. Heck with Ralsei and all his impositions. Now that she's tasted the freedom to choose how to spend her time and who she wants to be, There's no way in hell she'd ever go back. For the entirety of chapter 1, Susie spends time messing around. She became more carefree. A field of hopes and dreams, like a child in one of his strongest domains, where they can let loose of all their fantasies. A playmat.
In other words, she spent time experimenting within her fantasy, away from the moral censorship that society had always blindly imposed on her. She was finally able to envision her dreams, and for the first time she felt them achievable. For the first time she was able to make the hope Toriel gifted her shine. She freed herself so much from the mental assumptions she was constricted into, with Gerson's help as well, who taught her not to go headfirst into things but to take the time to envision what you want and only then choose your path regardless of what the existing binaries would want you to do, that she might as well have already broken the prophecy. The prophecy always reappeared when someone tried to shatter it. But in the face of true willpower, a predicted future would never stand a chance. And as the prophecy in the main menu gets cut off, becoming more of a typical incipit of a tale than a whole story, with the music too becoming suspended, looping on itself, waiting for a conclusion of its melody that isn't written yet, Susie keeps walking and smiling. Susie's smile, which seemed to defeat everything, shined on in front of us, and for a moment it was as if darkness had been blown away. And the more time Mother spent with her, the more everyone else is starting to believe again. Noelle started to regain confidence in herself, and she's starting to become active once again in her own life. Birdley felt safe enough to let his pride facade fall, and he allowed himself to grieve. Ralsei started to have needs, desires. He started hoping again that the future can be changed, because through determination any dream can become true. Chris is starting to go easy on themselves. They are starting to allow themselves to feel, to live the moment. They are starting to feel more at ease, to have fun, and to let go of the past that was holding them back. Because even if life can feel unbearable, like nothing around you feels safe, and the more you hope for things to go better, the more everything just screams tragedy, the sun will come up again. And through our strength of will, hopes and dreams will save the world.